All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Bruce from the Epic Experiment, and another week, another deck. What do we got this week? This week we got something spicy. I have often discovered that I really like to sacrifice all my own stuff, and this commander right here is Rakdos the Muscle, and he lets you do that, and he rewards you handsomely for it. So 2 black, black, red for a 6/5 legendary creature demon mercenary with flying and trample. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library. Until your next end step, you may play those cards, and mana of any type may be spent to cast those spells. Sacrifice another creature, Rakdos the Muscle, gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. Activate it only once each turn. So Rakdos is a pretty powerful card engine because it's going to reveal cards on the top of your library or cards from the top of your opponent's library, and you're going to be off to the races casting stuff and things. Now, this bracket 3 list is fun. It packs a cute little punch that I want to talk about. There's kind of 2 sort of combo lines that we're looking to uncover. So if you don't just like grind them out and beat them to death with flying demons and drain them for stuff, we've got a couple of combo lines to do that. All right, let's talk this through. Let's start with our ramp package. Our ramp package is nice and tidy. We've got a Sol Ring, Mox Amber, and an Arcane Signet. All right, nothing fancy, but we'll talk about why that's the case in a little bit. But those 3 are our ramp package. Pretty neat and tidy. All right, let's talk about our interaction. Make sure how we don't die. It's less exciting than some of the other things we're going to talk about, but useful. All right, we have Infernal Grasp, just a handy piece of removal. Bone Splinters, a single black for sorceries as additional cost to cast Bone Splinters, sacrifice a creature. Rakdos wants us to do that desperately, so that sounds like fun to me. Delayed Blast Fireball. So this is 1 red for a Delayed Blast Fireball deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. If the spell was cast from exile, it deals 5 damage to each opponent and each creature instead, and foretells for 4 red. So kind of a pyroclasm effect, or it's a board wipe effect. Then we have Feed the Swarm. Feed the Swarm is just a really useful way to get rid of all sorts of troublesome things. We've got that's a different card. So we have a Terminate. We have a Crux of Fate. And we have a Rakdos Charm. Now, this is a fun card, and if you're playing Rakdos in any variety, you are well versed in Rakdos Charm. The mode I see often employed is to exile target player's graveyard. Okay, however, more than a few occasions, I have used it or seen it used against me. For the 3rd mode, each creature deals 1 damage to its controller. That is a great way to make a token deck just scoop up and say goodbye. Okay. Let's talk about all the ways we're going to sacrifice stuff and things. Oh, I forgot one last card there. Mana Geyser. We'll talk about Mana Geyser in a second, but this deck is going to cast a bunch of spells that are going to make a bunch of mana, because since you're going to be revealing so many cards, you're going to need to have mana available to cast your stuff. All right, let's talk about all the ways we're going to sack things. All right, so first off, we have a Village Rites. So a single black for an instant, additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature. So, and then draw 2 cards. So you sack a creature, Rakdos is going to see it, you're going to reveal cards equal to it, and you're still going to draw some to keep your hand full. Seems pretty good. Nasty End is very similar. So 1 and a black for instant, as additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. If the sacrificed creature was legendary, draw 3 cards instead. So again, Rakdos is going to see it. He's going to exile a bunch of cards, either off your deck or off someone else's deck, and you're going to draw some cards. Perfect. Exactly what the doctor ordered. And the last, we have 2 more in that same vein. We have an Eviscerator's Insight. So 1 in a black, instant, sack a creature, sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw 2 cards, and you can flash it back. And so Rakdos will see you sacrifice the creature, exile cards, you draw cards. And then Corrupted Conviction, a single black, sack a creature, draw 2 cards. All right, so we're going to draw some cards. It's going to be pretty handy. We're going to have some ways to go and make sure that our opponents end up, getting rid of creatures. So we have an Accursed Marauder, and a Fleshbag Marauder. So both of these have the text, when this creature enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature of their choice. A Curse Marauder has the line that they have to sacrifice a non-token creature, but they both essentially say the same sort of text, sack a thing. So often what you'll do is you'll sack your Marauder in response. Rakdos will see it, exile cards, and you've also whittled away at your opponent's stuff. We have a Kazul's Fury, which is an MDFC and is for 2 and a red. You sacrifice a creature, and then you can fling a creature, so throw it at them. So deal damage, and then you get to exile cards. Yes, please. We have a Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. For a red and a black, we have a 6/6 Elder Giant. When Kroxa enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it is escaped. Whenever Kroxa enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Then each opponent who didn't discard a card this way loses 3 life and escape for black, red, and exile 5 other cards. So this comes into play. He's going to exile, reveal some cards. It'll go to your graveyard. And then you can replay it from there. Yeah, that's kind of what we want to do. Particularly, we're going to fill up our yard pretty quick. Golem, Patient Plotter, 1 and a black for a 3/1. When as a Halfling Horror. When Golem, Patient Plotter leaves the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Okay. So you've forgotten what Ring Temptation does. The Ring Tempting has 4 modes. The first one makes them unblockable. The second one is a loot effect. The third one, I've forgotten what it does. And the fourth one means that they take extra damage. So all of it seems pretty good to me. All right. Warehouse Thief. Oh, sorry, I missed the best part of that one. Single black, sacrifice a creature, return to Golem from your graveyard to your hand, activate only as a sorcery. So, if this goes to your graveyard, let's say you sacrifice it for something to Rakdos, you can then get it back by sacking another creature, which is kind of exactly what this deck wants to do, and then you put this back in your hand to then repeat the process. Warehouse Thief, so 3 and a red for a 4/2, Tiefling Rogue, 2 and a tap, sacrifice an artifact or creature, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your turn, you may play that card. So, you sacrifice a creature, you go and exile things at the top of your graveyard library. This one makes you another one. It's all just revealing so many cards. Ingot Chewer, 4 and a red for a 3/3. When Ingot Chewer enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, or for a single red, you can evoke it. And when it evokes, what we check on is the mana value of Ingot Chewer. So it's going to reveal 5 cards, which is exactly what Rakdos wants you to do. All right, we have an Ayara, Widow of the Realm. So 1 black for a 3/3. Legendary creature, Elf Noble. Tap, sacrifice another creature or artifact. Ayara, Widow of the Realm, deals X damage to target opponent or battle, and you gain X life, or X is the sacrifice permanent's mana value. And then 5 and a Phyrexian red, transform Ayara, activate only as a sorcery. And when we activate the other side, Ayara, Furnace Queen, is a Phyrexian Elf Noble, and she is a 4/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return up to 1 target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. So you're going to be looking at just using this as a way to as a sack outlet. You can then maybe flip it. I have never seen it flip, but always the first time for everything. All right, then we have an Umbral Collar Zealot. So 1 and a black for a 3/2, Human Cleric, sacrifice another creature or artifact, surveil 1. So that's like that is like the primo target right there because it is a free sack outlet. You also have things like an Altar of Dementia. So 2, artifact, sacrifice a creature, target player puts the number of cards equal to their sacrifice creature's power from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. This gets really gross with Rakdos because you start sacking things to it, and then Rakdos is going to see it exile cards off the top of their library, and then Altar is going to mill. So they're going to go getting hit double time for cards off the top of their library. So it's pretty gross, and you're gonna turbo through some decks pretty quick that way. This is my Phyrexian Altar. I use the art card, but yeah, it's 3 mana to cast it, sacrifice a creature to it to make 2 colorless mana. All right, then we have Pitiless Carnage, which is a 3 and a black. Sacrifice any number of permanents you control, then draw that many cards, or you can plot it for 1 black. So this is great because you can sack lands to it, or treasures, or whatever tokens. It doesn't have to be creatures, or it could just be creatures, and you draw a bunch of cards, and Rakdos goes crazy. So you can set it aside with plot, use it later, and next thing you know, you're going to be cooking with gas and just going crazy. All right, we have it Burnt Offering. So a single black for a interrupt or instant. Sacrifice a creature to add that creature's casting cost in any combination of red and or black mana to your mana pool. So you sacrifice a creature and you're going to make a whole bunch of mana. It's like a ritual effect. Infernal Plunge, single red, additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, add red to your mana pool. All right, so you see there's lots of ways to sack your things. Some of them are creatures you can even sack. So what are we what is the fuel that we are sacking to get things done? All right, we have a Generator Servant. So 1 and a red for a 2/1. Tap, sacrifice Generator Servant, add 2 colors. If the spell is spent on a creature spell, it gains haste. Okay, so you can tap this, sack it yourself, go and exile things with Rakdos, and to cast a spell. Combustible Gearhulk, this is one of my favorites. So 4 red for a 6/6 first strike construct. When this creature enters, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If the player doesn't, you mill 3 cards, and this creature deals damage to that player equal to the total mana value of those cards. Yeah. Okay, that's going to get silly. And in this deck, you're going to see why we're going to do that. Greedy Freebooter, single black for a 1/1. When Greedy Freebooter dies, scry 1 and create a treasure token. Sure, makes me some mana. Junji, the Midnight Sky. So 3 black for a 5/5 legendary creature, Dragon Spirit. Flying with Menache. When Junji, the Midnight Sky dies, choose 1. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Ooh, sometimes that's good. Sometimes you just want to bag their cards. Or put target non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. So you sacrifice it to something, maybe to make a bunch of mana. So the Burnt Offering is a great one. Let's go back to the app card. So Burnt Offering, and this is a great example. So you cast Burnt Offering, you make 5 red or black mana, and then you go get another creature out of your graveyard and put it into play. This gets exiled, but you don't really care. You're just laughing it up. And Rakdos reveals a whole bunch of cards off the top of somebody's deck. Mind Slicer, 2 black for a 4/3 with Horror. When Mind Slicer dies, each opponent discards their hand. So this, I can assure you, if this hits the table, it is dying almost instantly, and everybody's pitching their hands. And everybody's annoyed with you, but that's okay. Dragon Rage Channeler, single red for a 1/1 Human Shaman. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil 1. Delirium, as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, Dragon's Rage Channeler is +2/+2, has flying, and attacks each combat if able. Sure. I mean, why not? That seems like totally fair to me. Timeline Color, so black for a Drix Warlock. It's a 2/2 with haste. You can cast a spell from your graveyard using its warp ability, and a warp, a black, and pay 2 life. So this is a great card because it's a repeatable sack target. So you can sacrifice it, goes to your graveyard, you pay a black and 2 life, and it returns it to play to have you promptly do it again. So particularly if you have the altar out, you can go and do a whole bunch of other things. Forsaken Miner, so single black for a 2/2. Forsaken Miner can't block. Whenever you commit a crime, you may pay a single black. If you do, return Forsaken Miner from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is hilarious because what ends up happening is that if you sacrifice this and elect to have Rakdos exile cards off your opponent's library, that counts as a crime. So if you use this, you exile a card off their deck, this is then going to prompt you to pay a black to return it to play, that you can sack it again and do it and repeat the process. So you could actually get pretty far and do some pretty funny things with this. So yeah, we have a Grief and we have a Fury. All right, so these are great cards, and they have the Evoke, so the same as the Ingot Chewer, right? So when you evoke them, they're going to be sacrificed at the beginning of basically right away. So they come into play and then they get exiled. And then they get sacrificed, which means Rakdos is going to see them and go and get cards. And both of them are great ways to clear the board up. All right. Now, what are our payoffs for all this sacrificing? We've just spent a lot of time just blowing up our stuff. What are we doing with it? Well, we got a Mayhem Devil. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. Well, this is kind of handy because if they sack a fetch land or a treasure, you could have damage to throw around. But it also matters because you have lots of things that are going to die. Phyrexian Vivisector. So 1 and a black for a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control dies, scry 1. All right, sounds good. Sir Conrad the Grim. So 3 black, black. 5/4, it is a legendary creature, Human Knight. Whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than a battlefield, or a creature card leaves the graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. And 1 in a black, each opponent mills a card. Well, I don't think I'm ever using that last ability, but this means when things die, you're going to get a whole lot of death triggers and damage to people. So, yeah, sounds good. Feldon. So 1 red, red for a 2/3. It's a legendary creature, Human Artificer. 2 in a red, tap. Create a token as a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except as an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. So let's say Conrad is in my graveyard. I can activate this, get a copy of Conrad into play, and then when at the end of turn it sacrifices, Rakdos sees it, you mill cards on the top of their deck. Sure, let's just do that. Skittering Precursor, 2 in a red for a 3/3 with Devoid. It's an Eldrazi drone. It has Menache. Whenever you sacrifice a non-token permanent, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice this creature, add a colorless. So, I'm sacking dudes. This sees them, makes me essentially more mana that I can then use. Alright, so that's pretty good. Pond of Ulamog, so very similar. 1 black, black for a 2/2 Vampire Shaman. Whenever Pond of Ulamog or another non-token creature you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may put a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token onto the battlefield. It has sacrifice this creature, add a colorless to your mana pool. So again, things die, make tokens, use tokens for more mana, power it up. Then we have a Sifter of Skulls, so 3 in a black for a 4/3, but Devoid is an Eldrazi. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token onto the battlefield. It has sacrificed this creature, add a colorless to your mana pool. Again, more of the same. You sack things, you're making tokens, you sack the tokens for more cards. Away we go. Or for more things. Judith, so 1 black, red for a 2/2. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith the Scourge Diva deals 1 damage to any target. Alright. We also have, over here, we have a Grim Haruspex. So 2 in a black for a 3/2 it's a human wizard as Morph. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. Cool. Now, I've got some other fun toys down here. And then some ways to recur my stuff, and then we'll talk about what the other things are. All right, so we have a Zoyoa Lava Tongue, so a black and a red for a 2/2 with Death Touch, legendary creature, Goblin Warlock. At the beginning of your end step, if you descend to this turn, each opponent may discard a card or sacrifice a permanent. Zoyoa Lava Tongue deals 3 damage to each opponent who didn't. So since I'm going to be descending, because I have so many things that are going to go to my graveyard, that's a pretty handy thing to do. Blood-Soaked Insight. So 5 black, red for a sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. Target opponent exiles the top 3 cards of their library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. You may cast a spell this way. Mana of any type can be spent to cast it. And it's an MDFC, so it can come in as a land if I wanted to. Okay? So this is kind of handy in the late stages of the game. You need to find something. You can go exile off someone else's deck. We have a Kervek, the Punisher. So 1 black, black for a 3/3. As a legendary creature, Human Warlock. Whenever you commit a crime, exile up to 1 target black card from your graveyard and copy it. You may cast the copy. If you do, you lose 2 life. So this is mostly here to allow me to basically kind of like Snapcaster Mage my instance of sorceries in my graveyard. So let's say I need to snap back the Infernal Grasp or the Feed the Swarm because I have something problematic. This would allow me to use it. So I sack a thing, Rakdos targets them, now I've committed a crime, and then I can use Kervek to flash it back and solve the problem I need to solve. Is it painful? Yeah, it is, but it's a pretty useful way to use it. All right. Then we have a Dauntless Scrap Shot. So 3 for a 3/1 artifact creature robot. When this creature enters, exile each opponent's graveyard. Create a lander token. This just seems like a really good piece of graveyard hate, and I'm here for it. And then when you're done nuking their graveyards, you just sacrifice it, and away we go. And then we have a Hell's Caretaker. So 3 and a black for a 1/1. Summon Hell's Caretaker. Tap, sacrifice a creature to take target creature card from your graveyard and put it directly into play as though it was just summoned. Use this ability only during your upkeep. Alright, so kind of a janky card there to go and get things back. But this brings us to the next sort of theme. How do I recur and reuse some of these powerful cards? Well, I've got a pretty good package of things that are going to let me get things back. Undying Evil and Gaia's Ghost Form are two really useful cards that are going to let me to. So when a creature dies, they're going to return to the battlefield. So Undying Evil is an instant, and that's an enchantment. But they're just really useful ways to get things back onto the battlefield, even after you sacrifice them. These other three are more expensive and are a little bit more, I would say, higher end. So you have Necromancy, Animate Dead, Reanimate, one after the other. So they all three of them return things to the battlefield with various clauses. So this is an enchantment. If the enchantment dies, the creature goes away. This one, the creature gets -1/-0, and then this one you have to pay life. And so they all are effective at doing their thing. Okay. Let's talk about the two combos in this list. One is fun, the other is not. Let's talk about the not fun combo first. All right, so we're going to be using Underworld Breach. Okay, Underworld Breach is a game changer. I think is the only game changer in this list. But because as a result of this, it now is a bracket 3 list. All right, but Underworld Breach says 1 in a red enchantment. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost. Plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. This is Mishra's Bauble. This is a 0 costing artifact. There are many in the game, but Mishra's Bauble is probably the one that gets used most egregiously. So 0 to cast it, tap, sacrifice Mishra's Bauble, look at the top card of your target player's library, draw a card at the beginning of your next end step. Alright, so and then our last piece is a grinding station. So this is a 2 mana artifact, sacrifice an artifact, target player mills 3 cards. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, you may untap Grinding Station. Well, you can sort of see the loop that happens here. So you've played this, you sack this, and go into your graveyard. You play the Underworld Breach, and now you can start recasting this. And every time you play it, Grinding Station allows you to tap it, sack it, play it again, untap it, sack it, and do it, repeat it to mill out people. It's slow. It's a little boring. It's not exciting. But it will do the job, provided you stocked your graveyard. And if you need to, you can then turn around and Grinding Station yourself. There's lots of room for that. So you need more cards in your graveyard. Let's sack some for yourself and turbo through and crush our opponents that way. Is it exciting? No. Is it effective? Yeah, it can be very effective. But this one's way more fun. So this is a Doomsday line. Oh, Doomsday. So black. Search your library and graveyard for 5 cards and exile the rest. Put the chosen cards on top of your library in any order. You lose half your life, rounded up. So, you're going to go find the following cards. You're going to go find the card Kaboom. All right, so that's going to be the top card on your pile. So, choose any number of target players. For each of those players, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card. Kaboom deals damage equal to that card's converted mana cost to that player. Then you put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Haha. So, we've got 5 really big chunkers here that you're going to want. The first one is City on Fire. So this is 5 red. Convoke. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage instead. So, you want this ideally sitting on the battlefield. I have proceeded to cast it, but that's all fine and well. Then, what do we got here? So we've got Dargo the Shipwrecked. So Dargo is 6 in a red for a 7/5 legendary creature, giant pirate. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of artifacts and or creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way, and 2 less to cast for each other artifact or creature you sacrifice this way, with Trample and his partner. So, that's revealed by Kaboom. If City on Fire is in play, you're going to get them for 21. Cool. That seems fun. Then we have the Balrog, Durin's Bane. So 5 black-red for a 7/5 legendary creature, Avatar Demon. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this turn. It has haste. The Balrog, Durin's Bane, can't be blocked except by legendary creatures. When the Balrog dies, destroy target artifact or creature an opponent controls. It is also 7 power or 7 mana value. So, City on Fire would look at that and deal, oh, I don't know, another 21 damage. They're probably dying. All right, now, Explosive Singularity. 8 red. Sorcery. As additional cost to cast this spell, you may tap any number of untapped creatures you control. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature tapped this way. So it basically has Convoke. Explosive Singularity deals 10 damage to any target. So that's, if you have City on Fire, that's 30 damage. And then the pièce de résistance, we have Shadow of Mortality. So 13 black for a 7/7 Avatar. If your life total is less than your starting life total, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the difference. I don't care about the mana cost, so I'm never casting this. I'm flipping it off Doomsday and Kaboom and getting somebody for 45. Is it a terribly janky way to win a game? Oh, absolutely. But is that not the best way I can think of to win the game? Sure is. I could go and build Doomsday with, Thassa's Oracle and whatever else, but this seems like way more fun to just fling giant stacks of damage around. The best part is that Doomsday puts those cards, you're going to draw them. It's going to happen. That is your stack. And you're going to make sure that everybody eats a whole pile of damage. So, that's the deck. Is it funny? Oh, is it funny? Is it good? It's okay. It can do some things. It can go fast. Is it optimal? No. There's some other things, some other ritual effects that I could put in. Dark Rituals 1, Culling Ritual, those sorts of things I could put in here if I wanted to. I haven't got there yet. We may get to that point. But it's a very fun deck. As you can see, there are some pricey bits and pieces to it. It's if I remember right, it's something in the neighborhood of about $350 to put it together. So it's not altogether cheap. But as far as decks go, it's going to provide you with lots of fun, particularly if you like to sacrifice your stuff. All right, that is the deck, folks. Thanks very much for checking out. If you like what you saw, check out the deck list on Moxfield. It's in the notes down below. Like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 100. We're wishing everybody a great end of 2025, and we will be back to recording our weekly content here shortly. But in the meantime, you can still like and support us here on YouTube. And last but not least, you can follow us on all your favorite podcast apps and follow our weekly content. We'll be having new content coming out shortly, as Pete's going to be breaking for you for the winter break here real soon. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. That's Bruce, the Epic Experiment, signing off. Wishing you a good one. Peace.